Hello everyone, Eric with McDanger Videos here. I wanted to give everyone another tour of my factory since the last patch. Now if you're not familiar with this game, it's basically an open sandbox where you design and get to build a factory. There are no time limits, no limited resources, and your buildings are invincible. Now there are enemies as you explore, but they're not really much of a threat to your factory. So let's start with one corner of my factory. This is where a lot of my steel plates and my frames are made. Now these are fed by a train that comes from the corner of the map. You'll notice I have a lot of trains sort of making a spaghetti of tracks all over the place. So these bring in all my resources from different corners of the map. So you can see here with the map that most of the resources within about a half mile have been fully utilized. You'll also see some a little bit further out, connected by trains to bring the resources in, as well as some really long pipe and conveyor belt systems. I do my best to have an ultra redundancy in my base, so when one resource is finished, it will send its extra materials to another part of the base that may need these materials. A lot of the machines that you see around here are producing copper to be used for the nuclear pasta endgame material. This requires a lot of copper, so all these machines that you see off in the distance, that's what they're all working on, producing copper. Here's the power bank storage where a lot of my electricity gets stored in case I go over the limit, which does happen quite frequently. Out of the side of the base here you'll see where a lot of the copper and also copper is imported from the lake area. One resource I can never seem to get enough of is cables. So you'll see that a lot of my factory is dedicated to making cables. This entire facility here is dedicated to making cables, and I can still never get enough. It also produces a small amount of copper tubes. This whole area and this train bring in coal from the other side of the map to assist in steel production. All the excess fuel from my rubber and plastic production powers all these fuel generators. This used to be the primary source of my power until the particle accelerators made it necessary to put in a bunch of nuclear reactors, and we'll go see those in just a second. But again, this is just more fuel generators. They're powered by the fuel from the crude oil that gets turned into plastic and rubber, and then the waste products of that can be turned into fuel. Okay, now we're going to visit my nuclear power generation area. I don't like sticking around here too long because of the massive amount of radiation permeating the area. So you'll notice I have 8 total nuclear reactors. 3 of those are plutonium and 5 are uranium. As you go in the area, you'll notice the radiation level gets higher and higher. It doesn't quite show exactly how much radiation it is, but if you keep an eye on my protective equipment on the bottom left, you'll see how fast my filters go down once we get close to the plutonium storage area. All these machines are designed to produce the various parts that are needed to make the fuel rods for both the plutonium and the uranium reactors. Now we're getting a little bit closer to where a lot of the concretes, the rotors, and the stators are produced. A lot of the excess copper is also sent here where it's turned into cables. So it may not seem like there's much of a plan or a design to this factory, but you'll notice that the higher quality materials get funneled up higher and higher. The very bottom is your more basic things like steel plates and rods, and as you get higher and higher there's computers and supercomputers, things like that, and at the very top you have your endgame materials that you use to complete the space launch. Well, I guess it's not actually a space launch. That's Factorio. I guess it's just sort of like a space elevator launch. But the higher you get, the more complex the materials are. Most people who see this think that this factory is way too large and complex, and that there's no way I know where anything is. But I've spent about 709 hours in this factory, so I have a pretty good idea of what every machine does, what every resource comes from, where it's going, and where it ends up. Some of that 709 hours, though, is me just letting the factory run AFK. So as you see at the very top, here's all the endgame materials. Those sort of collect in these large storage bins, and then when I feel like it, I just dump those directly into a fix-it sink to earn coupons. So here we go. This is the very, very top. So everything at the bottom beneath it, it all feeds up here into this sink. You can see it takes a lot of points for me to get one coupon at this point. A lot of the machines you see will have 3 power slugs being used. Now I have this many power slugs because I've had this factory for so long that every time there's a major update, they put all the slugs back in. So I have thousands and thousands of slugs, increasing the efficiency of all of the machines. And you may ask, why do I bother playing this? I've already reached the end goals. I've done everything there is to do in this game. I've unlocked everything. But really, I just find this game relaxing and calming and pretty satisfying. Although somebody once told me that just looking at my factory gave them anxiety. But the game is still technically in early access, so they're going to be adding more content and there'll be even more stuff to do. Right now I have 3 of my plutonium nuclear reactors turned off to save on fuel, so that's why it looks like I have a power deficit right now, but it should be okay once I turn them back on. Now we're going to head to one of the least showed parts of my factory because it's such a pain to get there, and that's my coal power production facility. Now to get there we're going to have to use the jetpack to jump across some rocks, so we'll be there in just a minute. Gotta switch to the jetpack. There's no power lines here to power my hover pack. Yeah, there's no way I can see a purple power slug and pass it up. Come on. Alright, here it is. This is where I use a lot of the coal that's sitting here on the beach to produce some extra power for my factory. There's a lot of coal nodes here that really were going unused, and so I figured I could just turn these into a power production facility. Set them here, never have to worry about it. Yeah, so this will basically conclude the tour of my factory. I hope you enjoyed it. If you don't own this game, I highly recommend buying it. Give it a try. You can also play with your friends, and you can do fun co-op factories, but it's a great game for the price, so I definitely recommend it.